On today's Travel Talk with Selling Travel, I'm joined by Kelly Cooks, Leisure Director at Advantage Travel. Hi, Kelly, how are you today?
Good morning. I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Sunlight streaming in here. One thing that was not so positive, though, was last night's news, which is that there is no news. So I guess I just wanted to ask first, Kelly, what's your response to Boris Johnson's announcement, especially in relation to the lack of clarity around the date when international travel can resume?
Yes, so I think you nailed it then really with there was no news, was there? So I guess the only positive we can take from it is that he clearly said that the roadmap is on track. So the fact that we're pressing ahead with opening non-essential retail on the 12th is a good sign. He's always been very clear that it is data over dates, and the fact that they're comfortable enough with the data to carry on with that stage of the roadmap is good. I think we were always expecting the announcement to be on the 12th, so we were quite surprised when the date of the 5th started being mentioned, but actually started to feel a little bit more positive over the weekend with the amount of press coverage on the traffic light system. And while he didn't talk about that in his update, there was the paper that was released that covered that later. So I'd say we have a little bit more clarity, but there's still a huge amount of gaps in the documentation in terms of how the traffic light system is going to work, how it's going to be communicated, and how these countries are going to be categorised. So yeah, I guess one tiny step forward, but we've still clearly got a long way to go.
Definitely, definitely. And just sort of thinking more about the traffic light system and also the rules around testing and isolation, do you think this is a measure that could be helpful for agents or more of a hindrance?
I think, we know the traffic light system. We worked with it last year. What we all want to see is for it to be a much simpler process than last year. So there has to be some improvements. The way that the countries move between the different categories has to be clearer. And I think we definitely need a certain amount of time between them moving from one to another to allow agents to look after their customers properly. And I think, there's also that piece around the communication. So we need the communication from the government to come out in a correct manner, and that needs to mirror what's on the FCDO website as well. So there's quite a lot more work that needs to go into that traffic light system, I think, before it is a promising sign for agents.
Definitely, definitely. And also there was a lot of talk around vaccine passports as well. Do you think this is a positive development, or do you think this could make agents' role harder in the future?
I think as an industry, generally, we would support the vaccine passport. Again, it's still quite early days in terms of what it's going to look like and how it's going to be used. I don't think we can rely on it as the sole answer at the moment. So I think we also need to have affordable and accessible testing that goes hand in hand with that vaccine passport. But in theory, I think it could be a positive as long as it's rolled out correctly, really.
Brilliant. And just going back to what you were saying, Kelly, about the opening of non-essential retail from the 12th, which is great news. Do you sort of anticipate that maybe an increase in foot traffic might actually lead people to go into travel agencies and make more advanced bookings? Could this be a really good thing?
Well, it's great for members that are going to be able to get back into their local communities. About 80% of our members that have a retail presence are going to open next week. So they do really feel it's important for them to be seen as open in their local communities and to start being able to have that face-to-face interaction again. Some of them will open shorter hours on lower staff, probably using appointment systems in some cases, closed door policies even perhaps. But in general, I think it does give them another opportunity to be seen. There'll be more people on the high street. So from a marketing point of view, we'll be able to start using the shop windows a little bit more. Most members have still dressed their windows, but with less footfall on the high street, it hasn't been as effective as it would be with a full high street. And I think it does mean that people will come in and talk about travel. So about 60% of our bookings at the moment are for departures from next year onwards. So I think we're definitely seeing the will from people to want to travel. It's just the uncertainty around this summer really and the rest of this year. So but yes, I think it's definitely a positive, and being able to get back out there and talk to customers, it is definitely a good thing.
Definitely, definitely. And sort of how has Advantage been sort of assisting its agent members throughout the pandemic?
Gosh, I mean, it's been such a busy 12 months. And I mean, if you'd have said this time 12 months ago that we'd still be in this situation, I don't think any of us would have believed you. And we've done such a wide range of things. So it started off with supporting them with materials when the shops had to close. So we had a lot of assets that they could use on social media and use in emails, basically saying our shop may be closed, but we're still very much open for business. We've then run different marketing campaigns throughout as different products have become available. So we had a Say Hello Again To campaign last year, which focused on the destinations that were open. We ran a Back on the Water campaign. We've got a domestic campaign that's going live this week to support the new staycations. So we're trying to support with what product we do have. But a lot of it has been more hands-on than that. So it's been talking to members about financial support that might be available for them. So we've done a lot of work around cash flow forecast templates, that kind of thing, pulled in some of our contacts from other business to be able to update members on how they can use the furlough scheme, how they can apply for grants, things like that. So a lot of it has been one-on-one support, and a lot of it is around, I think, mental well-being as well, and that emotional well-being, and just being at the end of the phone to support a member. It's been such a turbulent 12 months and we're not out of it yet. So I think our role really is to do that piece for the members. But then the other big piece that we've been doing is trying to be the voice of our members and travel agents in general externally as well. So I can't even remember the amount of appearances that Julia, myself and the rest of the team have made to try and put forward that financial support, the clarity in the messaging, and just really keep travel in the media. So it's been a huge range of things really, and I think we'll have to keep evolving our support as and when we go through this, because COVID is something that we're going to have to live with, at least in the short and medium term. So we are going to need to keep supporting members with that, at least for the next, I'd say, 12 months or so, possibly longer.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say sort of some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome over the last year?
I think, the lack of support has definitely been a difficult one from the government. So while there has been support for different parts of the UK, we've not seen that support across all of the devolved nations. That's been a bit of a challenge. We do have members in all 4 areas of the UK, and getting the messaging right for each of them has been a challenge. I think for members in general, the furlough scheme has been a good thing, but of course we haven't been able to mothball businesses completely because we've still got customers to service. So, we're now at a stage where we have moved customers' bookings 3, 4, 5 times. And members obviously don't make any cash from that. We don't make cash, or the members don't make cash until the booking departs. So that's a huge challenge. And I think just really the lack of clarity around when international travel is going to be restarted. And there is a lack of understanding, I think, in the government around what international travel is. It's not just about people going on holiday. You've got visiting friends and family, you've got business travel, and there's also quite a lot of different parts of the travel industry, and trying to get the needs of each of those across to government has probably been one of the biggest challenges.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, absolutely. And sort of talking about the return of travel when it happens, how is Advantage preparing for that? And, how's this going to be different post-pandemic? How's that all going to look?
Well, I think the role of the travel agent is different, actually. And every survey we've done shows that people are more likely than ever before to use an agent. So I think, a travel agent's always been known for their expertise around a destination and a product, but it's much more than that now. It's really complex to travel at the moment. So I think the role of the travel agent is much more at the moment guiding people through the booking process, making sure they've got the flexibility that they need. and also talking about that in-resort experience and guiding them through all of that. So I think the role and the need for a travel agent will increase, actually, which is a positive for members. And as we come out of this, I think, destinations are going to adapt as well. The way we travel and what travel looks like is going to be different. So there's lots of opportunity there, I think, for members to really sell their expertise to a customer and be able to grow their own database.
Yes, definitely. And sort of how have you adapted to support agents in doing all of that?
So we've moved to focus on digital assets. So we still have our point of sale program. We'll be bringing that back in the near future, but we've actually shifted a lot of our focus onto digital. So that was both for B2B in our member communications, but also in the B2C marketing that we provide. We've also formed quite a lot of different groups with different people across the industry to look at what the role of the travel agent will be like moving forwards. And that's everything from financial protection right through to branding and marketing and support. So we've really tried to look at all different angles, I think, that the members might need. And our membership is so diverse. We've got about 50% of members that have got a retail premises and the other 50% don't. So again, the needs can be quite different.
Mm-hmm. And speaking about how agents are sort of feeling at the moment, are they now optimistic, or are they just feeling super frustrated with the lack of clarity? What's kind of the general vibe you're getting?
I think definitely after last night, frustrated. I think everybody was hoping for a little bit more information and definitely a bit more clarity around the restart date. Of course, it's not just as simple as flipping a switch and being able to get planes in the sky and people traveling. So I think we were hoping to get a little bit more information around what the traffic light list would look like, what would determine what country went into each colour, and when they were going to start releasing that first set of data. And I think while most members understand that it would be difficult now to predict what was going to happen in August, for example, the 17th of May is not that far away, and we do have customers with bookings or that are wanting to make bookings. So I think frustrated that we're not any further ahead. Hopeful, I think, in the fact that the roadmap is on track. We're sticking to the 12th of April date for non-essential retail reopening, which can only be a good thing. And now there's a lot of focus on international travel. So again, in the media all over the weekend and today, it's all about international travel. So keeping that front of mind, which is positive. But I think, really, we've had 12 months of uncertainty. I think members now just want to know what the summer's going to look like so that they can prepare themselves, their teams, and start to advise customers, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the Global Travel Task Force will be reporting next week. What updates is Advantage hoping to hear, and what would be sort of the best case scenario that they could come back with?
I think we would like some clarity around what is going to what the categories are going to be for these green, amber and red destinations, clarification on the process when a country has to move from one category to another. And then also in the report that was published last night, it wasn't very clear, particularly in terms of the green destinations, whether you would still need to test, and also whether it's based on people being fully vaccinated to travel at all. So I think we need some clarity around that. And the testing piece in general, it still states a PCR or a lateral flow test. And I think, if we're now using lateral flow tests in schools and at events and in the NHS, we'd like to see them used more widely for international travel. They're much more accessible, much more affordable. So I think some clarity really on that whole piece is what we're looking for the 12th of April.
And lastly, what's your advice to travel agents while they're sort of waiting for this travel restart date to be confirmed? What sort of things can they be focusing on during this time?
So I think what members have been great at, and what the industry in general seems to be really great at, is being really close to their customers. So it's a great opportunity to just reconnect with your customers, let them know that we're expecting news imminently, and start to gauge what that pent-up demand looks like from their database. I think, increased product knowledge in their teams for the destinations that are looking like they might be more likely to be open. We do have some that are perhaps not traditional destinations that we would have sold huge volumes to. So there might be some opportunity there for some training for teams. And also to grow databases as well. So like we've said, there is now data that supports that more customers than ever are going to use a travel agent, and some of those won't have done so previously. So it's a great opportunity to start getting the name out there of your business and start getting some attention from those customers that perhaps you've not worked with before, ready for when we do get some news, because customers are going to need professional advice to know what to book, how to book, and what that experience is going to be like.
That's really great advice. Thank you so much, Kelly. And I think that's all my questions. So thank you so much for joining us again. And I hope you have a really lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye, Kelly.
Bye.